Hey everybody, my name is Jason and this is Netminder Review. Before I go into this video, I just want to say that I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, Netminder Review, here on YouTube. And if, when this video is over, you found value in it, I would appreciate it if you would click the like button just below this video. Thank you so much for watching. So today I want to talk about Elvis Merzlikins and what is up with Elvis Merzlikins and what is up with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Elvis Merzlikins took the Columbus Blue Jackets and the NHL kind of by storm when Jonas Korpisalo was hurt earlier this season, and it seemed like Merzlikins was going to be this year's Jordan Binnington, playing amazingly, winning a bunch of games and moving Columbus up into a playoff spot. However, of late, Merzlikins has fallen off a little bit, and so have the Columbus Blue Jackets. So what I want to do tonight is I want to take a look at some of the recent games that Merzlikins has been a part of and analyze and really try to dig into, is this a Merzlikins thing? Is this a Columbus Blue Jackets thing? Is it both? And what do I think is going to happen if things don't, or if things continue to go in the direction that they're going? So first of all, let me say that Merzlikins is 0-3-3 in his last 6 starts. Okay, so I wanted to analyze those 6 starts, and why specifically those 6 starts? Because he's winless in them, and up to that point he had been winning a lot of games. Okay, so February 20th against Philadelphia, which is today, the day that I'm filming this, he allowed 4 goals on 33 shots tonight against Philadelphia. That's an .879 save percentage for the game. Obviously, if you're going to win, you're going to need your goaltender to have a save percentage normally above 90, preferably, creeping up into the 910, 911, 912 or better range, especially if you're not scoring goals. And we're going to talk about that later, about Columbus's goal scoring situation this season. On February 18th, two days ago, Merzlikins allowed 4 goals against Philadelphia on 12 shots and was pulled. That's a .667 save percentage in that game. Now, if you go back and you watch these games, is every goal, are all 8 of these goals Merzlikins' fault? Or in other words, would we call them all bad goals? No, not at all. There definitely was at least one in the first game against Philadelphia that I thought was a pretty poor goal. It was behind the end red line, banked off of him. I am not a fan of goaltenders allowing goals from really impossible angles simply because they don't hug the post from top all the way to bottom. But at any rate, are all of these goals on Merzlikins? No, but it is a disturbing trend that he's allowed 8 goals in his last 2 games. Before that, 3 goals on 26 shots against the New Jersey Devils on February 16th. That was an .885 save percentage. Now, the 3 games before that, he only allowed 2 goals in each of those games, but they were all losses. 2 goals on 27 shots against the Rangers, 2 goals on 30 shots against Tampa Bay, which, I mean, Tampa Bay is a very offensively, an offensive powerhouse. So, allowing 2 goals against them on 30 shots, not horrible. And in fact, .933 save percentage, very good. .926 here. 2 goals against Colorado on 22 shots, a .909 save percentage. So, these 3 are not so disturbing. But what is concerning is the 0-3-3 record in these 6 games and the upward trend of goals allowed in the last 3 by Merzlikins. So he has allowed 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 goals. He's allowed 17 goals in these 6 games in which he is winless. He had allowed 19 goals in his previous 13 games combined. So you have to take the last 13 games prior to these 6 and add all of the goals that he allowed in those 13 games together to get up to and slightly surpass what he allowed, the goals that he allowed in these 6 games. So what that amounts to is Merzlikins is cooling off a bit. Now, in those 13 previous games where he had only allowed 19 goals, that included multiple shutouts. So in those games, he had a 16-shot shutout against Detroit. He had a 32-shot shutout against Florida, a 41-shot shutout against, against New Jersey. He had a 34-shot shutout against Boston and a 27-shot shutout against Vegas. So Merzlikins was playing phenomenally. Now, it would probably be a little silly to say that any of us could have expected Merzlikins to continue on that pace. These last 6 games, really, if we were looking at any other goaltender, we would probably say, well, that's not too bad. But the fact that Columbus didn't win any of these 6 games, and the fact that Merzlikins is trending in the more goals allowed direction, is why it's worth talking about, okay? He had only allowed, this is another statistic that I thought was fascinating. Merzlikins had only allowed 4 goals or more in 3 of all of his NHL games prior to these 3 games. And those games that he allowed 4 or more goals were 3 of his first 5 starts. So in his very first start, he allowed 7 goals. And after that, he allowed 4 goals in his third start, and he allowed 4 goals in his 5th start. Since then, he had not allowed 4 or more goals in a game. Now he's allowed 4 goals in 2 games in a row. That's concerning. Let's add to that, this is not a Merzlikins statistic, but this is an interesting Columbus Blue Jackets news item. Yesterday, it was announced that the Blue Jackets had lent Joonas Korpisalo to their AHL or to the AHL team in Cleveland on a rehab assignment. So Korpisalo is back playing games again. Remember, he's been injured for quite some time. So I had been thinking of Korpisalo as kind of a situation where when he comes back from injury, it seemed likely to me that he steps into a backup role behind Merzlikins. Now, Korpisalo may be and likely will be playing in that rehab assignment for Cleveland for maybe a week or 2. But when he comes back to the Columbus Blue Jackets, if Merzlikins is continuing to trend in a undesirable direction, then one would wonder, is Korpisalo going to come back in a backup role behind Merzlikins, or is Korpisalo going to come back and take the reins back? How was Korpisalo playing before he got injured? Well, he had played 32 games so far this season prior to his injury, and he was 17-10-4. In that time, he had a 2.49 goals against and a 913 save percentage. Very good numbers. However, those numbers, there's the train. If you watched my last video, you know I have a train track about a block from here, so I apologize for the train whistle being a little annoying and interfering. Anyway, what I was saying is that those numbers that Korpisalo had put up prior to his injury were not as good as the numbers that Merzlikins had been putting up. But now, if Merzlikins is starting to come back down to earth, starting to not be the superhero goaltender that he had been over the last month or 2, then it would be reasonable to expect Korpisalo to come back and at least find a situation where the Blue Jackets are having to play, well, let's play Korpisalo one game, let's play Merzlikins one game, let's see who gets hot, stays hot, is hot, wins games, plays well, so on and so forth, all right? So the Blue Jackets have some interesting statistics themselves as a team that factor into this. You know, one might wonder, well, are the Blue Jackets defensively breaking down? Are the Blue Jackets playing poorly? Is it not so much a Merzlikins thing, but more a Blue Jackets thing? Well, the Blue Jackets are one of the stingiest teams in the NHL when it comes to shots allowed. So they are currently ranked 4th in the NHL for fewest shots allowed. They're allowing 29.5 shots per game, which there are only 3 teams, three teams, Philadelphia, Carolina, and Los Angeles, which was a bit of a surprise to me when I saw that. Those are the only 3 teams in the NHL that are allowing fewer shots per game than Columbus. So where we see here 33 shots in this game, that was today against Philadelphia. That is more than they are allowing on average, as they're allowing 29.5. But here when we see Merzlikins allow 4 goals on 12 shots, or here 3 goals on 26 shots, 26 shots is still below their average, and it's really good because most teams are allowing more than that per game. So when we see these numbers and we see that Columbus is actually not allowing a ridiculous amount of shots per game, then that tells us that it's not so much a defensive structural breakdown on Columbus's part, but it's, not getting the save when you need it. Now, in addition to that, Columbus is 28th in the NHL when it comes to goals scored per game. 28th out of 31 teams. Columbus is not an offensive powerhouse. They are allowing some of the fewest shots per game in the NHL. They are scoring some of the fewest shots per game in the NHL, which means they need their goaltenders to be big. Okay, they cannot make up for allowing 3 or 4 goals per game. They don't have the offense to cope with that kind of scoring against them. They are, they are scoring just 2.56 goals per game. So Columbus has to keep their opponents realistically at 2 goals per game, which Merzlikins did in these 3 games, and they still didn't win. So Merzlikins definitely, or whoever's in goal for Columbus, definitely can't be allowing 3 and 4 goals per game. Columbus can't keep up with that kind of goal scoring pace. They're not going to win games allowing 3 or 4 goals per game. And the reality is, if you really think about those words, if you think about the fact that Columbus is not going to win if they allow 3 or 4 goals per game, even when they're getting really good goaltending from Merzlikins or Korpisalo or Kivlenieks or whoever it is that's in there, I can't help but question, can they win a playoff series? Can Columbus win a playoff series scoring 2.56 goals per game? I understand that scoring usually decreases in the playoffs, that we see a tighter brand of hockey, a more defensive brand of hockey sometimes. But I don't see a situation where Columbus can make it out of the first round if they can't increase their goal scoring a little bit. And I definitely don't see a situation where they can make it out of a first round, if they even make the playoffs at all, by the way, if they're allowing 3 or 4 goals per game. So Korpisalo coming back might be a big help to them if Merzlikins continues to trend poorly. Now, I understand this might seem overreactionary. It's only 3 games, and really, I mean, this is not a great start here. 3 goals on 26 shots, But it's really these two that are the seriously concerning games, okay? So I get it. Maybe it's a little too soon to, jump off the Merzlikins bandwagon. But I think that it had been an exciting story seeing how well he had been playing, and seeing this happen, not so great. And by the way, why are the Columbus Blue Jackets only able to muster 2.56 goals per game? Well, for one thing, among others, by the way, they have the 25th ranked power play in the NHL. They're only scoring on 16.1% of their power play opportunities. So what I'm seeing here is a team that does not score a lot of goals and has been winning a lot of games due to exceptional goaltending. Above average, way above average goaltending. And now, if Merzlikins cannot continue to provide that really, what I think we would all have seen as unsustainable goaltending, if he cannot continue to provide that, and even if Korpisalo comes back, if Korpisalo cannot pick up and provide exceptional goaltending, above average goaltending, then Columbus is going to not have a very good end to their season, whether it's missing the playoffs entirely or making it in and getting bounced in the first round. That remains to be seen. But they're going to have to figure out their scoring issue, and Merzlikins is going to have to get back to playing really almost a ridiculously good style of goaltending, or Columbus's season is going to start going downhill, and it may not be pretty. So anyway, after four goals allowed performances in a row against Philadelphia, I wanted to share this information. I wanted to dig into Merzlikins' numbers, to the Columbus Blue Jackets numbers in general, share this information with you guys. I hope you found it interesting. I'd really appreciate it. Again, if you would subscribe to my channel, that would be really awesome. Share these videos with your friends if you would be so kind. Hit like and subscribe. As I said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome evening. Goodbye.